Welcome to the show. Now, please strap in for the truth and remember the words of the great Tom Cruise.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Now, welcome to Off Topic on Point.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever this may find you. We are back for another episode of Off Topic on Point. I am one of your hosts, Rob Looper, and I am, I am joined by Russell Cruzan, my buddy and co-host, and this has been an interesting time trying to get this thing done and recorded and bring it to you. Russell, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Still trying to adjust here a little bit, Rob, but I think we'll be fine.
So,
Yeah, we've had some heavy inclement weather here this evening, and I think it has had some bearing on how things are working on my computer and with my internet and everything. But I think we're okay right now. Let me
well,
just make one more slight adjustment here, and we'll be good. Okay.
speaking of
By
technical
the way,
diffs,
let me just say this if I can, then
yeah.
we can move on from that. I have a better camera than this. And that camera seems to have been affected. I don't know if it got blitzed out, by the a power surge or something. I don't know, but it keeps going south on us. So I'm using this one. I apologize, everyone. I know the resolution is not the best here, but at least I've got an image here. So
Well, yeah, and to everyone, we just want to kind of lean into the fact that it looks different right now because for me, small town living, evidently, when I woke up this afternoon from my nap, I woke up to a note from or a notice, a text from our internet company saying your internet's down. It'll be up by 2 o'clock tomorrow. Well, that doesn't help us when we want to bring you, the off topic on point episode. So I had to
yeah,
travel outside of my house to find some internet so that we could record. So I'm not in the studio we've created at home. So evidently in small town living, when somebody knocks over a power pole or some kind of thing, it knocks out
yeah,
the power or we have power, but it knocks out the internet to half the county, I guess. And so we apologize, but we wanted to make sure we bring you the next episode, the next installment, and not just
yes,
you know not do anything or not say anything. So we are working on it. That's why it just looks a little different, but we'll go back to the regular format next week. And it's interesting though, Russell. Travis was texting me um, earlier, and he was asking about because uh, he has Starlink. So he had texted me, and he asked me if my internet was working, and I was like, no. And I asked him, I said, is yours working? And he's like, well, that must suck because my Starlink is working just fine. And he's like, I
yeah,
just want to let you know that mine's
yeah,
working. So,
yeah. Of course, of
and
course.
I told him, I said, I have a workaround, because I use my phone as a hotspot, and
Yeah,
so I'm actually okay. And he texted back and he said, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the blazing speed of my Starlink that is still working just fine.
that's
So
great. Yeah. Did you? You can't really blame them for that, though,
no, and you
Rob.
can't. Well, and you
But
can't because here's the
did
thing.
you did you
You
tell them that was unrequested information?
almost, but here's the thing. You know it, and I know this too. It's the way that we are. We would any one of us would have done that to him, if we were if the roles were reversed. You know what I'm saying? We'd
Yeah.
almost be disappointed if he didn't do that. So
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good commercial for Starlink, even
it,
though we're not doing commercials for Starlink. But
exactly, but I will say this, and the audience will get a chance to meet Travis when we start doing some people's kids.
yes.
Um, just a funny guy, great guy, funny guy. We love Big Trav. So
Yeah.
he's now got Starlink. It's blazing. It's going good. Now it's going to work until that satellite falls
Congratulations,
out of the sky.
Travis.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, so we'll see. But he's doing just fine with Starlink, he
Good.
said. So yeah.
All right.
But anyway, moving to the next uh topic, as it were.
Yes.
Uh, the um you and I have been talking. I had read an article, and it was an interesting article, but it goes to something you and I have talked about, and that is this woke agenda that is pervasive and has been pervasive really ever since kind of the Biden came into office, it really took it got jet fueled.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was reading this article about this summer with Hollywood and how they were projecting they wanted to make 4 billion, and that was conservative. They're like, if we can hit that, we really feel like we're back and everything's good and we're back on the right road.
Okay.
They have had such an abysmal summer. They are not going to be anywhere near that mark. And so they were looking and they were talking about reasons why. And one of the main reasons is because the demographic of men 18 to 54 are not showing up at the movies. And so I think it's interesting. And they said, there's been this war on masculinity, or as they call it, toxic masculinity,
Yes.
men in general. And they've basically told men, we don't care about you. Don't show up at our movies. I mean, there's been all of these different things where Hollywood has basically said to everybody who doesn't believe like they do, who won't further their agenda, don't show up.
Yeah.
We don't care. I think you're starting to see the
Yeah. I
repercussions
mean, why not?
of that.
Let's oblige them.
Yeah, and
That's
and it,
been my attitude.
yeah,
It was the attitude I had. I stopped watching NFL football, and I still don't.
right.
And
No,
a
I
lot of
yeah,
my friends have gone back to it, but I figure, there. I learned that there is life after the NFL.
yeah. It really
I've
is.
learned that there's life after the NBA. And I'm
Yeah.
over here in Spurs country, and we haven't seen a lot of success in recent years, but you were living here when we
Yes.
were in the heart of the championship time. You and I went down to Academy, I think, or
Yeah.
did some things together, and helping celebrate that and all. And,
We
and that was a
absolutely
fun
did.
time here in San Antonio.
It
But
was.
there's life after NBA and after the Spurs and whatever your favorite team is out there.
Right.
So if that's what they want, then that's what they can have.
Well, and it's yeah, and
Cracker Barrel almost lost me as a
yeah,
customer,
absolutely.
and Target
Yeah,
has already
absolutely. Yeah.
has for years, and I could
Yep.
just go down the list.
Well,
Meanwhile, I am spending more time at places like Chick-fil-A. So
yeah. Well, and what's interesting is it's just the idea of this is permeating. Now, let me just have a disclaimer here. I am not a Snoop Dogg fan. Okay. So
I'm becoming more of one.
well,
Although
yeah,
I get what you're saying.
let me just be a
Yes,
disclaimer. Listen, I'm not recommending his
I'm
music.
I'm
I'm
I'm,
not
I'm
recommending his
becoming
lifestyle.
a Snoop Dogg when he talks fan.
Yes. Um,
So
but he was on a podcast and he was talking about when he took his son to see the movie Lightyear, which is
yeah, yeah,
and he said, look, my grandson started asking questions because there was this lesbian couple who had a kid, and then there was this kiss and all this other stuff. And his grandson started asking him questions. And he said on the podcast, and I was reading the article, I didn't hear the podcast, but I was reading the article where they had the transcription a little bit of what he said. And he said, look, I came here to take my grandson to see a movie, not answer these questions. I kind of wanted to just kind of snooze a little bit,
yeah.
let him watch the movie, and then take him home. I didn't want to get caught up with these questions. He's young. He
He's
doesn't need to be
speaking for
asking.
all the grandpas out
He
there,
he's
man,
well, and parents too.
and
And
parents.
and so what you are starting to see is people are supportive when it doesn't affect them, but then all of a sudden it starts to affect them, and they're like,
Yeah,
I'm not, wait a minute, time out,
yeah,
time out, look, back up.
yeah.
And so
Bizarre philosophy sometimes looks really good on paper,
yeah,
but when you digest it into the culture,
yeah. And so what,
just because it looks good all kinds of things look good on paper
oh, sure.
that don't translate well to real
Well,
life.
a perfect
And that
example.
which violates obvious objective reality and truth is
Yeah.
always going to fall on its own sword in that regard.
Well, a perfect example of what you're saying that'll kind of keep us going in this vein. But you were living it in Texas when everybody was saying, and I know this gets very, touchy, but it proves the point.
Yeah.
Everybody up north was telling Texas, you need to calm down about the border situation. Until Governor Abbott said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bust
Yeah.
them to your city. And then
Yeah.
everybody had to come apart. Then everybody's like, whoa, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We don't want them
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We
Y'all
just
need to
want you to
calm down.
you need to let them stay there. Well, all of a sudden, then you have all of these people in these major cities, Chicago, New York, New Jersey,
Yeah,
all of these places, California, where they're telling them to calm down, and then all of a sudden, well, I mean, hang on a second. So when it's somebody else's problem, the bizarreness is fine. But when it becomes your problem to deal with,
right,
then
right.
all of a sudden you're not so, all of a sudden people now again the politicians seem to sometimes stick to their guns and whatever because it works for the people who aren't again in that city
The,
or
the
whatever
globalists
the
do, yeah,
globalists, yeah. But a lot of
and their
normal
cronies.
the normal everyday people who live and work and walk and go to school, have kids, attend school, all this stuff. They don't have these. They just want to, live in relative safety, peace, harmony. They're like, this isn't working. All of a sudden, you know, and that's so moving back to, what Snoop Dogg says, all of a sudden it affected it. It came to his doorstep and he's like, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up. What are you talking, and so now with him doing that, it started to, you're starting to see a kind of a peel back of of these layers of, wait a minute, I'm not so sure that I'm down with this kind of thing
Yeah,
being, and he's not even saying
yeah.
he's anti
Well,
any of
and
these
he
groups.
hasn't. He didn't just trip into that
No,
in the last week or whatever.
no,
He has already been on a trajectory
he
against this
has.
kind of
He,
stuff.
yeah, he really has. And
So it did not surprise me one bit that that was the
no,
posture he took, and I applaud him for that.
yeah, well, and again, he's not even that he's anti. He's just like, look, we shouldn't be having it in a children's movie.
No,
You know what I'm saying? And
right.
and again, totally agree with him on that. I don't want my kids when they were younger. I didn't want them. I don't want to explain that. I mean, how do you
No,
explain
no,
that?
no, no good parent wants
Right.
to have to do that. So if you're a parent and you want to do that, guess what I just said about you?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
You're welcome.
There it is. And so, so I think it was just interesting. And as I was looking at that, it was just it's very interesting the way that a lot of it seems like, and again, I could, um, common sense is starting to come back. But it was interesting
Yeah,
because, then you have people, like Chris Evans who voiced Buzz Lightyear saying, we don't want you if you don't like this. If you don't like this, don't show up. Well, that's why the movie bombed. You have
yeah.
a lot of, the Disney
Say
movies. You
thank
have
you for saving me an atrocious amount of movie going money
right,
that I didn't need to spend anyway.
right.
Thanks for that invitation.
And you have these Pixar movies
Yeah,
where they're pushing these agendas. You have these Disney movies where they're pushing
yeah,
this agenda, and Disney's doubling down. Well, now they're not even making their budget on the movies. They're failing so miserably,
no,
and
may it continue.
may it continue. To be honest with you, yeah.
Bring back old Disney. We need to start a
Oh,
movement.
hey,
Bring back old Disney.
you know what I watched the other day, Russell?
What's
I
that?
had it on I had it on an external hard drive. Do you remember they had this thing called Tall Tales that Disney had, and it had Paul Bunyan, it had Pecos Bill,
Uh-huh.
and then it had Johnny Appleseed. You remember
Yeah.
Johnny
Oh, of
Appleseed? And
course. Yeah.
oh man, and there used to be a time when Disney, because Johnny Appleseed is a takeoff of I forget what the guy's name is, but he's an old time. I mean, he started revivals, but they animated this to show his life story because
Yeah.
the guy planted apples. The character is singing the song about the Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun, the rain, and the apple seed. The Lord's been good to me.
Yeah.
That tune goes and that song goes throughout the whole. It's a 15-minute cartoon, but it tells the life of Johnny Appleseed. And at the end of it, they tell you that, and again, it's a little bit, it's not theologically correct, but when Johnny Appleseed goes to heaven, they're saying that, because they needed the fields planted in heaven. And when you see those clouds and they make the clouds look like rows of apple trees, you know what I'm saying? It's not clouds anymore. It's Johnny
Okay.
planting
Yeah.
his,
Yeah.
it's not theologically correct. But that's old Disney. That's way back Disney, and that now I mean, you
And
do that
even
now
the
and you'd have
stuff
people
that
fall
isn't
apart.
even the stuff that is not like overtly Judeo-Christian
Yeah.
that's old is still clean. It's clean and
Mhm.
it's wholesome and
Oh yeah.
there's good over here and there's bad over here and everybody knows which is
Oh
which
sure.
and the good always triumphs. And
Absolutely.
and the people that are like the villains and all in Disney, they at least learn their lesson or something, right?
Yeah,
Or there's a lesson
absolutely.
to be,
Yeah.
or else they get their just desserts, and it's not horrific stuff like we see in some other movies, but it is something that a movie you and I both have talked about in the past that we like, The Happiest Millionaire.
Oh, such a
Nobody
good
even knows
movie.
about that, and that is
Oh my
based on a
gosh.
true story, and
It
it is a
really is.
fabulously done
Oh,
movie with Fred McMurray
yes.
and
And
others.
Leslie
And
Ann Warren. Yeah. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean,
just well done. And
such a
of course,
good movie.
my fondness for the Love Bug series.
Yes, Herbie the Love
And
Bug. I've seen them all. They're so
oh yeah,
good.
me too. I own them all. They are
They're
just
great.
and of course I drove a Volkswagen, a 60s. It was a 1966 VW. It was my longest running vehicle that I owned when I was a younger man. And I loved it. I got to where I could work on it. My dad
Yeah.
and I rebuilt the engine in it with just all kinds of experiences with it. So of course that made me love that movie even more.
Oh yeah.
And now that was not a 66 in the movie. I think it was
No.
a 65 or I know
But
it was 65 earlier. It doesn't matter. But just those older movies, the Apple Dumpling Gang and
oh
all
yeah.
those are
Just
just a
such
lot of wholesome,
yeah.
fun, clean stuff. And that is not what Disney produces today.
No.
And there weren't subtle messages trying to get kids to turn in a particular ideological
No.
direction, that it was just teaching good morals and good principles.
Yeah. And it's just it's so sad. And you would think that there would be a way for them to learn and to get the message just by the box office. These things
Yes.
are failing. They're losing money, but they're like, no, we have to
And
get
they
this
should be.
ideology. Well, yeah, they should be because it's just honestly, first of all, the message is bad. So okay,
Yeah.
there's that. It's also they're just making terrible movies right now. Like honestly,
Well,
they're
yeah.
they're terrible.
Just like not to deviate a great deal, but music isn't what it used to be. I,
No,
I grew up in the 60s and 70s and experienced the 80s. There just is no comparison. I'm sorry.
no,
The stuff that most of the stuff that sounds quote unquote good today is
synthesize.
electronically
Yeah,
manipulated some way, in some ways.
yeah.
Whereas the singers of yesteryear, the 50s, the 60s, the
Oh yeah.
70s,
Even the
they
80s.
had to perfect their talent, their
They're dead.
skill
Yeah.
to sound the way that they did.
Well, perfect
And it's
example.
just there just isn't a comparison.
The perfect example of that right now is again, let's go a little bit farther ahead, but there's not been a guitar player like Slash. And again, I'm not a big Guns N' Roses fan. But
Yeah, me either.
the
Yeah, yeah,
talent of Slash, okay, what he can do on a guitar, or Jimi Hendrix, you know what I'm saying? Or those
yeah,
people, what they could do on a guitar, you don't see that today. You know what I'm saying? People are like,
no,
well, I can play chords or I
no,
can do this, but you're not seeing that kind of talent where they're literally beating on their craft day in, day out. And then they're like, well, no, I mean, you could probably just have somebody else do it, or you could bring somebody in, or we'll just, we'll digitize that. I mean, don't get me wrong, fine, great. But here's the thing, you just don't see that kind of talent, it wouldn't seem, in a lot of this new music
no.
stuff. It just doesn't seem to me to be as good. And when you do find it, I mean, there are pockets of it, but not the plethora. Like when you're talking about the 50s and the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s. I mean, you can list and you run out of fingers. I mean, just you can keep going and going and going and going and going. And then you get to now and you're like, I don't even know some of these people. And all of it seems to be a lot of this real, like I'm talk singing or I'm synthesizing it or I'm
Yeah.
auto
What
tuning it
why
or
do you
I'm
think
doing whatever.
rap became such a thing? My theory is that with all respect to anyone who deserves respect in that genre, there are a few people that do.
Yeah.
Not everybody does, but there are a few people that do. But I'll tell you, uh, I was astounded when we began to call talking
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
There was a time when, and I mean, in most of human history, when we knew better than to do such a thing.
Sure.
Now, people will argue with me, but I don't care if you argue with me about that. There's just some things that are obvious, and if it's
Yeah.
not obvious to you, you get a perspective adjustment coming your way.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing for me is we need to be there's a point at which you go, we got to be better. Like we've
Yeah.
got to be, we need to begin. And it goes back to this too. I mean, we've just lost our way on a lot of things. Like we'll give standing ovations for nothing. We tell people they're great, and it's not that they're great. They're not bad. They're good, but great is a whole different thing. Great has lost its meaning. Awesome has
Yeah.
lost its meaning. And it goes back to, because everybody's a winner, everybody gets a ribbon, everybody get no, honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
That
not. And that goes that,
that brings down everybody's
yeah,
the pursuit of excellence goes out the window when you
absolutely.
start playing that game.
And that just it goes back to the original point of things where with Disney, if they were seeking excellence instead of to further an agenda,
They're trying to be a change agent. Yeah.
right, they would make movies. I mean, because I remember again when the Marvel universe started, I remember when I saw Iron Man for the first time, I was so excited. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And the movies were dynamite. I mean, they were outstanding. Now, there's always people, and I sometimes one of them was like, well, it didn't happen that way in the comic book. It didn't do this. And they're like, yes, but we're building the universe this way. We're taking some liberties, and it's fine. But they were
Huh.
still, but they weren't pushing an agenda. They were
Yeah,
just
right.
simply,
Yeah.
building the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe. Now they're using it to push propaganda,
Yeah.
agendas, whatever it is, and it's I don't hardly watch their movies at all. I mean, honestly. Now it seems like they're starting to try to come back a little bit, but by this time you've lost so many people.
I'm not going to be that forgiving of people who
Yeah,
go in who should know better and
yeah.
probably do know better, but do it anyway and then come back later
When
and
it's
say,
just not
"Well,
working
okay,
out.
that
Yeah,
didn't work. Let's." No, you did what you did, and you
yeah.
shouldn't have done it. And you
Right,
were not only that, there were people asking you, "Please don't do it," saying,
right.
"Don't do it," and you just did it anyway because you knew. Okay, well then you get to consume the fruits of your
Yeah,
heinous production. That's how I see it. I'm not trying to be unforgiving, but these are big stakes. When you are pushing yourself out there as a change agent and you are trying to change people, young people, children, into a horrible direction, you're pushing them. You're not trying to take that which is decent and wholesome and elevate that. You're trying to destroy that and put in something that is clearly not and try to talk using manipulative language, try to talk that into being actually okay.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you know what I mean when I say
Oh,
manipulative language.
absolutely.
The
I
left
do.
is absolutely, I'm going to give them props on that they're very good at it. Now, the props I'm giving them, you're good at it, but it's the same kind of props that I would give someone like Genghis Khan or,
Yeah,
some any horrific person of history. I'm not congratulating you because you are not to be congratulated.
right. No,
You
I
you
agree.
are trying, you are destructive and you're leveling the guns of your destructive force toward children. That makes you the most horrible kind of people that in the
Right.
universe, in the
Yeah,
world, and in history. So that
absolutely.
have ever lived. That
Yeah,
you're in that swath of people over time who do that level of horrible thing.
yeah.
So yeah, you're not yeah, you're good at what you do, but what you do is not good.
Right, exactly. And not, yeah, and so it's just,
People are
it's
going to know I'm opinionated before this is all over with,
well, look,
bro.
here's the thing. You know what? It is what it is, and I'll tell you this. If you know what, we're going to tell you how we feel, and look,
Yeah,
this is a perfect segue for this.
yeah,
Tell us how you feel in the
yeah,
comments. We'll be happy to reply, and I don't mean that in any combative way, but we'll be happy to reply and tell us how you feel.
yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Please like, subscribe.
And if you're
Um,
inappropriate, we'll just make sure that you're not invited back in
please,
anymore.
please stay appropriate, but we have
Yeah,
we have no problem having a conversation. I think, see, Russell, that's another thing that I think we've lost. We've lost the ability, and you and I are okay with this. We don't mind if people have a different opinion, and we will have a cordial. And when I say cordial, what I mean is we're not going to yell, we're not going to swear at you, we're not going to do stuff, but we will have a conversation with you. We will allow you your thoughts if you will, but we will require you to again do us the same courtesy. And so that's the thing. We're not afraid of people who have a different ideology or mindset. We'll have a conversation with you. But here's the thing. I think that's been lost in this day and age. People cannot sit down with people who don't think the same way as them and just have a conversation. And that I think is what is truly
Yeah.
sad is we can no longer have a conversation with somebody who doesn't see things the way that we do, and therefore you can't have discourse. And that's the
Right.
thing. So I think
Right.
that's that, and you and I have always been, we've never been afraid of anybody who doesn't think like we do. We'll have a conversation and we can agree to disagree. We may not win you to our side and you may not win us to your side, but we'll be okay. I mean, we'll agree to disagree and we'll do so in a very what I would call kind manner, not telling you you're some horrible person, please dig a hole and die. We'll just do it
Unless,
in
in fact, you are that kind of person. I know. See, there you go. Hey, I'm not going to agree to disagree on some things.
no, and some things,
I'm going to agree that you are disagreeable on some things,
and if
but those things are few and far between.
they are,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, but we need to be able to have that discourse, and
Right.
when we do,
Right.
and if somebody's going to
You
hold to their
bring
point of view,
you
then
bring
they can
Dr.
hold.
Richard Dawkins on here and he starts pushing that drivel from the God delusion.
I
I'm
got
not
you.
going to agree to
No,
disagree with
I won't
him. I'm
agree to
going to
disagree.
agree to keep going on the offensive because
Absolutely.
his voice must be repeatedly answered.
No, and I don't disagree with you on that. I agree, and we have to have an answer for that. But what we can agree with him on is that he'll hold fast to his point, and we will hold fast to our
Yeah.
point, and we will answer his
Yeah,
barrages each and every time.
he'll hold fast to his error and we'll hold fast to truth.
There we go. Amen to that. So anyway,
So,
we're about out of time
yeah.
on this episode of Off Topic on Point. One thing we want to make sure that we get out to you. Let's do this first. Let's not really pay some bills, but it's our partnership. Mountain Mowers LLC and Lawnscaping does a great
Yes.
job. If you're in the Carroll County, Grayson, Galax area, um, they do a great job. You can get a hold of them at 276-730-8230. They do a great job lawnscaping. They do a fabulous job. We are so happy to be partnered with them. So give them a call. They will do a great job. They'll give you a great estimate. They'll come out and give you an estimate, and they will do a fantastic job for you. So we are so happy to be partnered with them. So give them a call. Mountain Mowers LLC. And we also want to make sure that and we are very, very excited about this. The next podcast will be the first of what we hope will be multiple um, interviews that will let you know what is really going on in Nigeria. So it's all been set. We've got it all locked down. So we will be interviewing someone from Nigeria. So who is boots on the ground, is seeing it all firsthand, who knows and has the information. And so you're going to be hearing and you'll be hearing firsthand accounts of what is actually going on and things you're not going to see in the news media,
Yes.
things that is not being reported. They're not being done, and you're really going to be able to know how you can pray, how you can stand with them, how you can help, how you can do those things. And so we really encourage you to please like, subscribe, share this with your friends, share
Yes.
the Off Topic on Point podcast, however you listen, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeart, Spotify. Please share it with your friends so that they can tune in and listen. So we really want to get some momentum behind this so that we can
Yes.
begin to make an impact and hopefully help make a difference for Nigeria. So Russell, anything else you have?
Well,
Anything else I didn't cover?
no, you handled that very well. I would just add this, and this should be obvious, but if you are a viewer of this podcast, obviously that's who's going to see this. Please spread the word on this, and please encourage those that are only sparsely coming here to come see this. And I'm going to just ask point blank, please uh, subscribe to this podcast
Yep.
and like the episodes and share the episodes. That's what I'm asking you to do right now. This is really important stuff. And so yes, we get on here, Rob and I get on here and we banter about all kinds of stuff that you may or may not be interested in. It's a lot of fun on here and it's a lot of just lighthearted stuff, but not everything is. And this is one of the more significant things. And so I'm just going to ask everyone, please, on purpose, tune into that one, but also beyond that, before we get to the 8th of September, let people know and strongly encourage people to tune in. This is a very, very important thing. If you are a Christian, this really ought to hit home very strongly for you. These are brothers and sisters in Christ that are undergoing this persecution. And those of us that are here in the United States, we should not be basking in the comfort of our detachment over much on this. This is something that there is a moral issue, and we are a part of it, whether we like it or not. So anyway, that's what I would add. Please, I'm asking you, I'm imploring you, spread the word and be faithful when it comes to this sort of thing. This is not about us building our podcast. This is about us trying to address important issues of our day and of our time, and to help all of us come together to make a difference. So, Rob, that's what I had to say about it.
All right. Well, we will see you next time on Off Topic on Point. And please remember, you don't always have to stay on topic. You can be off
That's right.
topic, but you always got to be on
On
point.
point.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening today to Off Topic on Point. We want to remind you of our email address if you'd like to contact us. It's otopnow@gmail.com. That's otopnow@gmail.com. And as always, we want to leave you with this. It's okay to be off topic. Just make sure you're always on point. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.